Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Between the Ears show here on Sports Illustrated's Mountaineers Now. I'm Scott Callen. We are back and we're going to be loaded with a bunch of new content coming up here in the next few weeks. We're going to be talking football, obviously transfer portal with basketball, which we'll be doing here today. Spring game as well. We're going to get into baseball every week. As Chris and I will do a weekly baseball update. We'll have the latest update probably early next week after this Kansas series. West Virginia defeating Marshall last night to move to, I believe, 22-7 on the season. So we're going to have a bunch of stuff coming up for you. But first, we got to talk about this transfer portal stuff, man. I mean, it is in full force. So West Virginia, they already picked up a commitment from Omar Silverio, and now they get their big splash of the portal so far in Kerr Kriisa, the former Arizona guard that's going to come in and kind of facilitate this offense, run the point, and really hopefully find, or at least for Huggins' sake, find a guy that can really truly run this offense and kind of give it a whole new dimension that they haven't really had in years past. So the one thing I wanted to look at here with Kerr Kriisa is, or to highlight at least, is obviously the assists, right? I mean, that's the first thing that pops out. He's averaging over 5 assists per game. When you go back through the years of West Virginia basketball, at least in the last 5, 6, 7 years or so, that's more than just about everybody that has played on this team. And it kind of shocked me at first. I figured there would have been a couple of guys that would have been close to that 5 assist mark, but West Virginia has not had a guy average over 5 assists per game since Javon Carter. Yes, I believe it was 2017, 2018. So that's what you're getting right there. You're getting a guy that automatically comes in and is going to be someone that can run this offense efficiently, can set guys up for baskets. And again, we don't know what Trey Mitchell's going to do. We don't know what Joe Toussaint is going to do, even though we have a pretty good feeling those guys will be coming back. And if they do, this opens up the floor tremendously, because not only is Kriisa a very good assist and shot creator for others, but he can make shots for his own or for himself. He's 37% from the field and from three-point range, so he can knock down some shots as well. And this is just a huge, massive get for West Virginia. Cannot understate it enough how important this was for Bob Huggins to go and get a true point guard, something he really hasn't had since Javon Carter, or maybe not Javon Carter, more so Miles Bridges, Miles McBride. But McBride was more of an off-ball guard that was kind of forced to playing the point as well. A lot of people forget about that. In the NBA, he does a little bit of both, but he plays off-ball. So this is kind of like the first true point guard that West Virginia's had in quite some time. And even going back to JC, he didn't come to West Virginia as a true point guard. He was more of a combo guard that could more than likely play off-ball. But due to the personnel, mainly played point guard. So this is something that Huggins really hasn't had, and it's going to add a whole completely new dimension to this offense. And really, I think the interesting part of it is you don't know what they're going to do in terms of starting five. No one really does. My guess would be that they probably go to a smaller lineup unless they get another wing or something in the portal that kind of takes the place of Evan Matthews. But this would probably be your starting five, if I had to guess. You'd probably have Kerr Kriisa at the 1. You'd have Joe Toussaint at the 2, Jose Perez at 3, Trey Mitchell 4, and then whoever at number 5. We don't know what they're going to do at center. They've been offering a ton of guys in the portal. They were going after a ton of guys. John Hughley, the former Pitt transfer, they were after, I wouldn't say they were after. They contacted former TCU big Eddie Lampkin. They're in on Nelly Jr. Joseph from Iona. They've been in on a ton of guys. And you can check that list out, by the way. If you haven't yet, you don't know who West Virginia is going after, check out our transfer portal tracker on our site at Mountaineers Now. We've got a whole list of guys talks about where they come from, how many years of eligibility they have left, their stats from the previous year, and who they are receiving interest from aside from West Virginia. So we're keeping full track of all that stuff. Make sure to go check that out again on our site at Mountaineers Now. But yeah, that's my starting five as of right now. If they don't go out and get a wing, it's probably going to be more of small ball. But what that does is uh, it allows Jose Perez to kind of play more open. It kind of gives him more opportunities on the perimeter. It gives Joe Toussaint the ability to be a little bit more aggressive. Especially, I think this is the more important part because if they end up going and getting another guard in the portal, or if they decide to start Seth Wilson over Joe Toussaint, which I would think would probably actually suit this team better. And I'm not saying that as a knock to Joe Toussaint at all because he's a terrific player. I think Joe Toussaint is one of those guys that you need to have him coming off the bench. You go back to years like, Jay Sean Page and even Taz Sherman a couple of years ago where they were just spark plugs off the bench. Joe's not going to bring that punch offensively. He can certainly score, but he brings a whole new energy to this team defensively coming off the bench. And it's hard to have a guy like that coming into the game right out of the bat. And what if he picks up 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes? That's big time trouble. Then who are you going to turn to? You don't have that defensive presence coming off the bench, at least as of right now. So I would personally, if I were Bob Huggins, start Seth Wilson, get your shots up early, let him get into a rhythm of things, and then bring in Joe Toussaint for some defense, and obviously he can score it as well. So there's a lot of ways that they can do this, and I don't really think there is necessarily a bad way or a wrong way of going about the starting five because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like the starting five does not. It's just the first five to see the floor, right? I mean, we've seen guys that are in the starting lineup and they may only play 15 minutes anyway. We've seen guys that are on the bench and may end up playing upwards of 25 minutes. So it doesn't matter. But it's all about the rotations. It's all about the lineups throughout the game and how they manage that and how they play together. Regardless, Kerr Kriisa, big time pickup for Bob Huggins and his coaching staff there at West Virginia. There's going to be some more movement coming. I can promise you that. So keep up to date with everything in terms of the transfer portal movement. We're not just talking basketball here. We're talking football. Again, spring game coming up here in a couple of weeks, and we're going to have our weekly baseball update every single week throughout the rest of the season here on Between the Ears. So that'll do it for me. I'm Skylar Callahan. You've been watching Between the Ears here on Mountaineers Now. Click that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Mountaineers Now also. Thanks for watching. Take care and have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week.